Happy Thursday. This is Gigi Sabat, and you're listening to the Walk With Me podcast. My guest today is Nicole. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Thanks for having me.
Such an honor to have you here today, and it's so great to see you again. It's been a few years since our global bipolar disorder conference that we had there, and your talk was very, very powerful. It's such an honor to have you here today. Now, why don't you start off by telling us more about you and where are you from?
Yeah, so I am from Windsor, Ontario. So I'm an online marketer, do social media mostly, but I love talking about like mental health and all the things. I have bipolar disorder, which is something I'm very vocal about, and I like sharing my experiences and being able to help other people be able to grow their businesses while managing their mental health.
And I appreciate you for coming forward and sharing your story in such a vulnerable manner. And not just that, you're walking, talking testimony that regardless of whatever condition you may have, you can grow a successful online business. So let's talk about your business. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so I've been in business for 9 years. We work with a variety of different businesses, whether they're coaches or mental health related. Those are my favorite, but we work with like a wide range, really any business that needs social media help. We create the content, write the captions, do the video editing, all the things, scheduling, managing the comments, messages, all the things that a business owner needs somebody to do. And they try to do it themselves usually, and they get overwhelmed or they just don't have time to do it. And so we take care of all that because business owners are busy and they don't have time for that stuff.
That's right. What message do you have for someone who's facing a challenge as they're continuing to grow their business?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing would be be visible and continue to show up. I know I've went through times where like things weren't going like how I had planned or how I envisioned it, and I started to get quiet and less active and less out there. And so people just don't see me. And then my audience stops growing. And that was a big thing. My coach actually called me out on it a little while ago. And she was like, hey, so your audience isn't growing. Like, congrats on the people that like are paying attention to you. That's fine. But like nobody else is seeing you because you're not reaching anybody else. And I was like, oh yeah, true. It's really, it's something I know and I tell all my clients, but sometimes I get so caught up in like client work and stuff like that I forget to do it myself. So, yeah, that's your reminder, I guess. Keep showing up.
I love it. And you mentioned having a coach. Let's talk about having a coach for a moment. How important is it to have a coach? And what if someone is on the edge right now thinking about having a coach? What message do you have for that individual?
Yeah, honestly, having a coach is probably the best thing I could do for me and my business. I went through a period of time without a coach and I felt so dysregulated in my business. I didn't know what I was doing. I needed somebody to kind of direct me in this specific way, kind of not handhold, but like give me action steps on like, this is what we're going to focus on and this is what we're going to do to move forward. And somebody to hold me accountable and kick my butt is really, really what it comes down to. And sometimes you can do that with an accountability partner or something like that. But a lot of times having a coach, when you're investing in yourself and investing that money into a coach, you take it more seriously and you're more likely to actually take those steps because you're putting the money into it.
I love it. Now, you have experience with mental health. What message do you have for someone who says, I cannot grow a business because of my mental health? What message do you have for that individual?
So I started my business actually because of my mental health. So I'm very, very vocal about my story. But I attempted suicide twice and then moved home. And literally a month after moving home, I started my business because of my diagnosis of bipolar disorder. I needed a job I could do from home, that I could work my own work hours. I wasn't quite in a stable position where I could work a 9 to 5 right at that point. And I was like, I'm going to start my business, see what happens. And that was 9 years ago. So it's definitely, it's a process and there's ups and downs and everything like that. But honestly, owning your own business, especially like a freelance social media marketing, that kind of thing, it's so easy to be able to do on your good days and when you're not super anxious or super depressed or whatever. And then you have the ability to make that you have the freedom to make your own hours to work around. If I'm having a bad day, I don't have to work and I can work around that. So it's really beneficial. So definitely not a reason to not run your business.
Thank you for sharing your story. Now let's circle back to the particular component where you mentioned suicide there.
Mhm.
When did you decide not to end your life?
So after my second attempt, I ended up getting the diagnosis of bipolar disorder. I didn't know what was wrong with me up until that point, and I had asked for help, and I went to the hospital multiple times and asked for that help, and I wasn't getting any of the help or resources that I really needed. So when I was diagnosed with a bipolar disorder, the lady who diagnosed me, I told her my whole story, everything I've been through, what was going on, and she got down in front of me. And she made eye contact with me because I was staring at the ground. I was just so ashamed. And she got down in front of me and she made eye contact with me and she said, "This is not your fault." And it was like this like big wave of relief went over me where I was like, oh my gosh, thank gosh, because like everything that I had done of my whole life, looking back, and I was like, there were so many things that I didn't feel like I had control of it. And clearly it was me that did it, but I didn't feel like I had control over it. And then understanding that it's just part of how my brain works. And now having the medication and the therapy and the coping mechanisms that I have, I can live that full life because of that. So it was really a game changer for me at that point.
So that particular sentence, "It's not your fault," saved your life, correct?
Absolutely.
Wow, very powerful. Now, what message do you have for individual? What's your best advice to the audience for walking with purpose and living a life of happiness?
So my main message, I think, would be I think a combination of setting boundaries in any way, whether you're a business owner, whether you just you work a 9 to 5, whatever wherever you are, setting those boundaries with your family, with your friends, with the people you're working with. That's a really important part of having that balanced life and being able to be happy with where you're at. When you don't have boundaries, people take advantage of things. And a lot of times you don't get that balance that you're really looking for. So I think if you had to pick one thing, I feel like boundaries would be one of them.
That's very true. Now, what does leadership mean to you, Nicole?
For me, it means coming alongside the people. So you see a lot of times like leaders, like especially in like images, if you type like stock photos of leaders, it's like the leader's way up here and everybody else is down there. I'm like, no, no, no. Yes, in a sense, like you have to lead, but I'm more of, for me, the way I see leadership is like grabbing hold of their hand and walking with them, not necessarily like, hey, so I'm up here, follow me. Leading them and actually showing them where to go and the action steps to it. I feel like that's what makes a real leader. And that's what the difference is between just like a boss and a leader.
I love it. Now, do you have any last words for the audience?
I guess my biggest thing would be to every single day do something for yourself, whether it's some sort of self-care, whether it's going for a walk or drinking lots of water or getting a good night's sleep. Just something. Do something for yourself every single day. You are the most important person in your life, and you got to take care of yourself so you can take care of everybody else. So
that's very true. Thank you, Nicole. And where can the audience find you?
You can find me really anywhere on social media, but if you go to our website, it's readyaimsocial.com. So readyaimsocial.com, and you can learn all about our business and what we do there.
Excellent. Thank you, Nicole. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out Nicole on all of her social media platforms and her website. That's readyaimsocial.com. I'll say it again, readyaimsocial.com. And Nicole, thank you again for being a guest on the Walk With Me podcast. God bless you.
Thanks so much for having me.